I think what a lot of creators got to realize that they haven't really unlocked yet is there's no right opportunity for like a game. Like there's not going to be this golden opportunity where like you're just going to go viral off of being lazy. You got to go make it happen.
Hello, my name is Minges and welcome to Unfiltered Conversations with Creators. In this episode, we'll be talking to CPreds for the second time. The first episode was more about his come up and his journey in content creation, how he got to where he was today. But now we'll be talking to him about his milestones, reaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and learning more about the ins and outs of how he's navigated the tricky waters of Warzone 2 and a game that's sort of floundered. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to see more of CPreds, there will be some bonus content available on the Patreon. There'll be some rapid fire questions and some lighthearted reaction to some mean comments, some nice comments, and maybe even some outtakes. Would you do YouTube boxing? And who would you like to fight?
Definitely not, unless it's Bad Boy Beeman.
I knew it.
I don't do it.
I knew it. All links will be in the description. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more Conversations with Creators. All right, CPreds, we're going for number 2 podcast episode with you. Welcome back. Thank you so much for, first of all, good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat again. For anyone who doesn't know, the first time we spoke, we mainly talked about your journey from how you got started to where you are now. But on this episode, I thought we'd talk about a bit more about the more recent events, some of the cool things that have happened to you recently. One of the biggest ones, I think, is you hitting a huge milestone for YouTube, the 100K subscribers. Congratulations on that.
Yes, sir.
And
appreciate it.
Tell me about it, man. What was it like finally getting to that milestone?
Yeah, that was a pretty surreal and crazy one. Last time I was on the podcast, I think I was somewhere around like 30K, maybe, probably a little bit lower.
You're about 26.5K.
Oh, there you go.
That was a year ago.
Yeah. So it kind of just flies by. I think the main thing is you never know if most people are never going to even hit 100K. So in my mind, it was never necessarily a guarantee, although I always knew it was like a possibility and it was a goal of mine. We're getting closer and closer. There was a point I hit, I think 50K in February, and I just kind of knew things were starting to click for me. Like I was starting to get better with content creation. I hadn't really figured out the streams or long form end. Like it wasn't really like clicking for me on that end, but shorts, there were times where I was getting shorts to just blow up in a short amount of time, or I was getting consistent viewership. And so I started to think, okay, it's possible. But the thing is, like Warzone 2, as you know, Minges, not a lot of people were doing well with it. So I think for a lot of creators, like the game can dictate how successful you were. And for me, I was starting to feel that. So I was sprinkling in some Fortnite. There was just a point where like I was talking with some friends that were also on Warzone 2. And I was just thinking to myself, like, it doesn't matter what the game is doing. Like if I just make good videos, I can do well even on Warzone 2. And I really started to hit my stride when like Ashika Island started coming out and started like really getting like a sense of flow, and the game started really getting updates. But it wasn't really that made the videos do well. I found a way to like sprinkle in Warzone when it wasn't that fresh. So for example, like one of my videos that did really well was I hopped on the president's TikTok trend and I kind of made that my own. And that's still one of my most viewed videos, is like a video where I coached President Biden in Warzone. So I took advantage of that trend, and then I just kind of like kept going with it. I had a video where it was like winning Warzone on 80 FOV, and that just happened to be a glitch in the game at the time, and I took advantage of that and made that into a video. So a lot of my most popular videos at that time were me just taking advantage of different things in the game. And then I hit a lull a little bit, and then when Vandal came out, I just took full advantage and went full force. And I think when Vandal came out, I gained like 25K subs, stuff like that. And, a few weeks ago, right at the beginning of the school year, I was able to hit 100K. Pretty much like right when the school year started, that's when I hit 100K. Now we're at about 115, and I'm kind of coasting right now, like not gaining a ton of subs, but just making consistent content. And it's one of those things where you don't necessarily know for sure it's going to happen, but it was something that probably like 3 or 4 months ago, like I visualized it happening around the time it did. And I started calling it out. Like I was in my Discord. I remember to this day, somebody was like, "Oh, Preds, probably by like Christmas or January, you'll have 100K." And I was like, "Nah, like 3-4 months max." And they were like, "Nah, it'll be like 6 to 7. There's no way." I'm like, "No, trust me. Like 3 to 4." Like I just knew it was going to be 3 to 4 because I was looking at the statistics and like how it was panning out, and I was gaining about 12K subs a month over the summer. And so I knew that it was just going to happen. And there was a lot of people who were like, "Nah, like you don't even know that's going to happen for sure." And I was like, "Nah, it's definitely happening." So it's good to kind of have it come into fruition.
It's one of those things. I know that you're very into reading the stats and, you know, all the analytics. Like YouTube is very good with their analytics, and you seem to have a really good momentum going. And I'm sure it definitely looked that way on the analytics, but I'm sure aside from that, you kind of really felt it as it was happening, getting closer to that time.
Yeah, you can you know, you can't always read into statistics. It's kind of like playing sports, you know. The eye test is something that people use in sports a lot. Like if you look at an athlete and like how they're playing, it's like you can kind of almost predict and see that an athlete's going to be successful, but the statistics back it up. And when you have both those things, like there's something palpable there, like that player is going to be successful. And ultimately, like it can die out, right? Like that player can be really good in college or whatever it is, and then go to the professional sports league or like the different leagues that different countries have and not be successful, or go to the Olympics and like not perform. And that can happen sometimes with a video. Like you feel really good about it. Like it's one of the best ones that you made. Like you kind of feel a sense of connection to it, and then it just doesn't work out. But when you have both those things, like you feel really good about a video and it has statistics, it probably has a longer trajectory.
Yep.
And there are a lot of times where I'm putting out content and I'm kind of just coasting, and you have to call yourself out with that. I like the last month, my shorts have not been the best. Like I haven't put the best effort into planning them or executing them. I was kind of just making them. And so I was hitting a little bit of a lull where I was getting like 30K to 40K views per short on the higher end, and I had to call myself out of it. And now I'm starting to like pull myself out. So the way that I pull it out is I look at the statistics of my videos when they were doing well and what they're doing now. And I try to think, okay, what's the difference between these statistics and what's sort of holding me back? And then I try to plan around, you know, pulling myself out of that. And recently I realized that I was just making, you know, it's towards the end of Warzone's life cycle. So the interest is not there as much. A lot of people are pretty much done with Warzone. Like they're either just playing casually or they're completely done with COD and they're waiting for the new Warzone and the new MW3. And when that happens, there's going to be a huge opportunity, kind of similar to Vondo, for me to just gain subscribers, gain momentum, and make content that a lot of people are already going to want to watch. And then when Rebirth comes out in 2024, there'll be another natural ability that I already have people coming to my channel messaging like, "Hey, I'm coming back when Rebirth comes back." And anytime I post about Rebirth, explosion. So what I do is I try to figure out what topics I can make to sort of like put myself in that position, and then make videos that are naturally just going to be better. And so what I do, my short form editor, Jared, and we were like talking, and we're like, the main thing is swipe rate right now. So yeah, I'm big into statistics, and swipe rate is a big thing on YouTube Shorts that a lot of people don't really know about. And basically, if people swipe on your video, it actually hurts your video. So you basically want a correlation of 80% people watching your video that see it and 20% swiping. It's really hard to get, but that's one thing with my shorts. The reason that a lot of my shorts have been like 30, 40K recently is because the average view duration and the swipe rate have not been where they were in the past.
Yep.
So my better statistics are sometimes I'll have videos that are 59 seconds, but they have an 85% average view duration to the end, and 80% of people watching the short. And I've realized that sometimes I just get lazy or complacent and I'm making videos on things people don't really want to watch. And a lot of creators do the same thing. They just kind of like go through their gameplay and they happen to like, oh, okay, this cool thing happened. Let me make a video out of it. When I was at my best and at my prime, I was doing two things. I was one, and when I say prime, you know, like when I have my best months in the summer and everything. Hopefully I'm still in my prime, but you want to plan out videos around topics you think people are actually going to want to watch. So that's a big thing that I'm trying to do right now. And then the second thing is when you do have something that happens that you can make a video out of, knowing how to leverage that. So, for example, I had a glitch happen to me in Warzone when Vandal first came out, and I was able to leverage that into a short that was over 800,000 views. I also had a customs match where I had like a gas play. I was able to leverage that into 800,000 views. And then another video that I planned out was like a broken loader at the time, and that one in the same month had 1.3 million views on shorts, and all those videos did really well on TikTok as well. Like over 300,000 each video, but they were like some of them had even more. And so there was a point probably from when I concluded my last teaching position in the beginning of June, those 2 months until I started my next teaching position were like two of the best months I've ever had in content creation. Like
you had that focus
between TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Like there were some times where every single video on each platform was getting over 100,000 views. And like, the summer is a time where you're really locked in, but I was like monitoring the statistics like a hawk. Like I was sitting down, I was reflecting on the statistics. I was thinking, how can I make the next video? I was scripting stuff out. And a lot of times I don't even script shorts, which is a huge mistake that I was making for a while. Like I was never scripting anything out. I was just recording. But now that I'm working with an editor in Jared, we've been working together since August and he's a great editor. I found I need to like script things out, and that's one thing I'm pushing myself on because I used to edit and script in the moment, and I can't really do that now. So when I edit myself, I don't script, and I kind of just edit, record, and patch things together. But when I do things for Jared, I like to script out and plan out. So I'll just go watch the gameplay. I'll write down kind of the flow, and I structure all my shorts kind of like a narrative. So I start with like the exposition and like building the short. Then the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and like the conclusion. That's kind of how I structure everything. I know it's a very long-winded response to that question.
No, look, there's a few things in there that I wanted to touch on. The first one that you brought up, the athlete sort of example, the metaphor there. I think that really applies, and that's something that if you were to like associate yourself with an athlete, you would probably be one that really puts in that effort in training. Like every day, that behind the scenes sort of stuff that everyone doesn't see, and that is sort of brings that consistency because they put in the time away from, you know, the final product. And I think that's something that I can say about you. As I know you work really hard, and like you said, you plan a lot while you're at your peak. You know, you might have dips and troughs throughout a season, so to speak, but you have that consistency because you continuously are working at it. And a lot of people might find a little bit of success and then slack off for a while, but there's something about you, man, that I've seen that you just like, you're always going for it. You're always going like you really attack it.
Yeah. I think the main thing there is in content creation, and you know this, and there's a lot of people that know this, but I think there's a lot of people that don't. There's going to be like peaks and valleys, like more heavily than any other thing, especially in gaming content creation. But even if you're not a gaming creator, like there's going to be huge peaks and huge valleys based on trends and different videos that happen to go viral. And you really can't get complacent. And if you want to hit a milestone like 10K subscribers, 100,000, it's really when you have your best video, that's when you need to even dig deeper. A lot of people think when they have a viral video, oh, I'm good for the month, or I can pay my rent now, or this and that. And my whole thing is if I have a video on TikTok that pays my rent or pays my editor for the month, I want another one because the algorithm is going to be picking you up even more so. And a lot of people don't realize that or think it's a myth. Yeah, the word algorithm is like this big old like mysterious spacey sort of word, but really the algorithm doesn't exist. It's just the audience. But at the same time, the way the algorithm does exist is when you are getting pushed at the time. And I don't necessarily have any concrete evidence to back this up, but I just see it all the time with my content. If I have a video that really gets picked up and is starting to go viral, or several videos, other videos around it, like older videos or current videos that I push, will get more exposure. And so whenever I have a video that is getting pushed, that is my element to think of like videos that I've wanted to do that I know could get views, and to make it as soon as possible and push it out. So like I have a video that was starting to get traction and was getting like 30 to 40K views for 48 hours on shorts. I'm like, it's time to pump out content and just pump out as much as I can. So that's when I started editing my own. I sent 2 videos to my editor late last night, and after the podcast I'm going to be editing 1 or 2 more shorts. And that's really the time to put out as much long and short form as you can. Like I'll be putting out another long form because I have a long form that's getting like I just eclipsed my like most viewed long form video that's really picking up in the algorithm. And I'm like, I'm gonna put out another video exactly like that video now that that one's getting pushed. And so I think it just comes from a place of seeing what happens. Like when I first had a YouTube channel, and I had my first short blow up, gained a few thousand subscribers just off the one short, seeing that like it's not something that necessarily for gaming just continues. Like you have to keep going, and what makes you a successful gaming creator is kind of like continuing to post when there's new stuff in the game and like building that audience. And once you start to build an audience, you can relax a little bit. Like that audience is not necessarily going to go away if you don't post one video.
Yeah.
But if you want to grow your audience and continue to get people involved and and build the name for yourself and a brand, like that's where you really have to just kick it into high gear.
On that algorithm thing, I've heard, I forget who it was. It was one of those YouTube people that goes on people's podcasts and sort of explains what they're doing behind the scenes and things like that. I heard him explain the algorithm, instead of more like pushing, it's more of a pull. So if somebody likes one of your videos that they see, the chances are YouTube says this person likes this person's video, let's try another one, and they'll push out another one of your videos or something similar to your videos. And I think the best thing someone can do for your channel is when they see something they like, they go onto your page and they start looking at all the other ones, all the older ones, and that just starts. YouTube says, okay, people who like this video go and watch CPreds' other videos. Let's try pushing out some of these other ones too. And it's sort of like pulls it into the viewers that will like it rather than forcing it upon people who don't really look at that content.
No, that's definitely what it is. And that's why it's important to have sort of like a consistency. And that's why I try to go for a similar format in a lot of my TikToks and shorts. I was finding myself recently like getting out of that to some degree. So I'm kind of going back to my bread and butter because sometimes I find myself either not sticking to that formula or brand, or like sort of like, okay, I'm going to follow my shorts like a story. Sometimes I get a little bit out of place with it because I don't plan properly or I don't think about it for my short. And when I do fall out of that, like for example, recently with Rebirth coming back and a lot of news, I found myself on TikTok and shorts going into more like a news focused thing. So I told Jared, I was like, about a week ago, I'm like, I'm going back to storytelling. And I started pumping out storytelling shorts. And then sure enough, my TikTok and shorts and Facebook are starting to get more views, and that educational story type of like identity that I built my channel on. I started going back to that in the last week because I was falling out of it with all the news and like the beta. And the thing is, I've realized that long form, I don't do as much storytelling because it's a little bit harder to do storytelling in Warzone and from a gaming perspective. So I was doing a lot of like, oh, Warzone, here's what's happening.
Yep.
And I think long form, you can do a little bit of a different identity because if people are watching your long form and your streams, that's a little more of like your diehard audience. And like, when I do long form, I just do a lot of like jokes and dad jokes and like craziness and stuff like that. And I'm kind of just me on long form. That's my only strategy with me is my long form is just me. I've sprinkled that into my short form now so that it's like there's a parallel between it.
Yeah.
It's like I try to put in different dad jokes, or like when I do my commentary and my storytelling breakdown, like I put in my like almost my stupidness and my jokes into that is also in my long form. So people are starting to kind of read me as a creator from both. And I think that's kind of like the importance there. But you're absolutely right with the algorithm. It's not like push is not always the right word, but what I found is that there is like when it comes to an algorithm, like that's where I've seen it the most. I think some people will use the word algorithm as like an excuse for why their videos aren't getting views. And one thing I will say is like that's the importance of having a consistency in like a brand, is that some people think, like I've even seen on Twitter, and I'm sure you've seen this, Minges, that some people will post that they're shadow banned, or that I've even seen people post, oh, I hate when people do this, and they show a screenshot of people liking all their videos. First of all, I don't notice when people like all my videos because I'm not really looking in the feed at that. It's also like, admittedly, and this is not like a braggadocious claim here, but like it's hard for me to see that because they're like, if I go on my TikTok or YouTube during peak hours, like I can't even see the amount of comments or likes now, which is like a huge blessing and a great thing, but I'm not necessarily looking for that. I reply to some comments on my social media, but outside of that, I don't like, I have a dedicated time, usually in the morning or at night, where we're at lunch break, where I'm digging through analytics every day and responding to comments. Like I have times for both of those. Outside of that, I'm not just sitting on my TikTok, like watching the likes. Like I try to be, because it's just a slippery slope. So I try to interact with my audience. And then I try to go in the Discord a few times a day. So before a stream, I go in Discord. When I get home from work, I usually go in Discord. On the train or at lunch, I try to go in Discord for a little bit, reply to stuff. And I built up an audience and community like through doing these things, like consistent stuff. So if you post consistently, you have a similar flow to all your videos. Like either you're like a trolling type of creator, you're like a funny type of creator, you're a storytelling guy. Maybe you like, for example, there's people who now like their whole thing is they just sing on their TikTok, right? You got to have like a consistent brand identity and keep posting that same style of content, interact with your audience, build up your Discord. You will see that in your streams and your comments. Like there are people who they comment on like every short. They comment Nota Gang on every long form video. They're in every single stream. And that base of people is just going to keep growing. It's like if you just stay consistent with those things of like replying to comments, actually typing in your Discord, because if you just I've seen a lot of creators who are even larger that you obviously know too, Minges, who they actually type in their Discord, and it brings a lot of value because there's an actual community type feeling. And there's a lot of people who they just create a Discord or they just post and they think it's just going to like grow from there without any sort of strategy. And you got to have a strategy, like whatever your content strategy is. Like for me, my long form is based around storytelling, new things in the game, and then education. And my shorts are based around the same thing, but I use those formats to show people my personality and like what I enjoy, which is telling dad jokes, getting better at Warzone, and then helping other people enjoy the game and get better at Warzone and having like that positivity. And then sure enough, your audience reflects that. So
yeah, you just brought up exactly what I was going to say next, is that having that consistency of your personality coming through on all the different types of platforms. I mean, obviously when you make content for a specific platform, sometimes your YouTube audience is different to your TikTok audience, but having that personality is, I mean, if you're going to use your platforms as like a funnel for like your live stream, so to speak, if you are completely different in your content that you are on stream, like if in stream you're just boring or completely different person to what you see on your content, and the audience isn't really going to enjoy that. So you'll have that growth on one platform but not consistency across the board. But like you said, you're building a community that, which is the goal, has like an interest in you and what you have to say, your jokes and all that. That's probably like, I mean, I think that would be the goal of most people.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the goal. And I think you bring up a good point about like the live stream also meeting that identity. I actually have There's like definitely a few other creators that I talk to on like a daily basis about content. Some I just text, like one off sort of thing. Like we just text and we've gone a friendship over it.
Mhm.
And then I'll run games on stream with a lot of those guys that are like close friends or we have similar communities, which is funny. Like there's like a few of us that either people that we stream on YouTube, and we have like the same, even some of the same mods or like,
Yep.
people that come in the stream are the same. And then there's a few other of us that we have like, I have a Discord with a few other gentlemen. There's probably like 10 of us in there, and we'll just send each other content, give feedback, or hop in a call. And admittedly, I would like to use that Discord more than I do. But just with how busy I am, I hop in there like once a week. I hopped in there like 1 or 2 days ago, and one of the guys we're playing today on stream. We made plans to like troll with a specific loadout. And he is another guy who like he has a whole spiel. His name is Jay Broski, and he does like cop content where like he pretends to be like a police officer in Warzone.
Yeah.
This actually relates to this question a lot. We've talked a lot about how what you do on stream needs to be similar to like what you actually do for content. And when you go live on TikTok, that's where you can really have some magic. Like people can see your stream on TikTok, YouTube, Kick, whatever it is similar to what they watch you, and then they'll come watch the stream, and then they'll come back, and then you build that base. And one thing that I was doing a lot better like a month ago, and I've tried to push myself on, is having a consistent theme for the stream. There was a point, and my editor pointed this out to me. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was planning out my streams based on what I wanted my content to be for the week. So, for example, one day I was playing Warzone 1 because that was my long form video for the day, and my stream was also themed for that.
Mhm.
So today I like put a specific theme for my stream, and like I put a stream title that reflects the loadout that I'm using, like what the goal of the stream is. So one, it can get picked up in search engine on YouTube, and like the thumbnail reflects that. And I'm trying to get back in the habit of that. Although to be honest, a lot of days like I have kind of matched it up, like unironically, like, oh, Warzone customs, and sometimes I'll have a short that reflects a story that happened in customs. So I've still matched it up a little bit, but I've gotten a little bit complacent with that, and I'm trying to get back to that too. When I was at my success, I was planning everything out. I had a really good strategy, and the streams also reflected that. So me and Jay are going to drop in with like our plan for today, for example, is we're rebuilding the Car 98 as these two separate loadouts, and we're dropping into like Prox Chat Vondel and just trolling and trying to get Prox Chat with the Car 98. So there's like, not only are we building the loadout, but we're trying to build in like different humor. So we were just messaging before I hopped on here about like what the plan was for that. So when I woke up at 8, I was telling him like, oh, here's the plan, this and that. And he's off stream, but we're just going to hop in and just like troll people. So I think definitely building in some sort of energy and themes for your stream is super important.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be completely different on one platform to the other, because otherwise, you're building up people to come in, and what's the point if they don't really enjoy it? But I think one of the most impressive things about you hitting this 100K milestone is the year in which it's happened is one of the, you would say, I think most people would agree, one of the most boring, like a lull in Call of Duty, Warzone, the game itself. A lot of people have fallen off. Content's down across the board for a lot of people. But you've sort of navigated that and grown yourself and developed your skills, through what you would most people consider a very tough time for content.
Yeah, I think no, you're totally right. And my year kind of went like this. When Rebirth went away, like I was peaking as a streamer and content creator. Like I had, and ironically, I think that was around the last time I was on the podcast, like right before that. Because I think the last time we did the podcast was like the beginning of like the school year in America. So I just started teaching again. Rebirth was around and was looking good. Fortune's Keep was around. Like Warzone was still, it wasn't at its peak, of course. Like it wasn't peak Verdansk or peak Quarantine, and it's understandable it's gonna fall. But like I felt like content creation for Warzone was still highly sought after. A lot of people were in streams and watching content every day because Warzone 1 was just fun to watch.
It was.
And I didn't anticipate, and I don't think many people did. I mean, I know you were still on Warzone at the time, Minges, how badly Warzone and Call of Duty were going to tank. I did not anticipate it at first. I was really optimistic about Warzone 2. I was talking about how it was going to be fresh and like a change of scenery, and it was just terrible. I mean, like, viewership plummeted, and I didn't know what to do because I was a Rebirth creator. Like, that was my whole identity. And like, I was finally peaking. Like, I was at like 60 to 70 viewers max, and that was a huge milestone for me. And I was averaging 45 to 50 viewers. I was just streaming on YouTube, but there were times where I was multi-streaming, and I was running customs by myself and getting full Rebirth lobbies. I was like I'm finally on the path to success. And then Warzone 2 came out, and I actually switched to Fortnite for a little bit. I wasn't sure what to do. Very first Fortnite video, 3.7 million views on TikTok. And I was like, yo, maybe I need to switch to Fortnite.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe Fortnite is the way. And I was actually enjoying it too. So I switched to Fortnite, gained about 100K followers on TikTok doing that. Gained another like 20K subs off of one Fortnite short. And this was, 20K over months. So I was like, it wasn't like overnight I gained 20K subs off of it. But I was slowly gaining subscribers off other stuff than just Rebirth Island. And I was like, okay. But there was a point, and I had a conversation with one of my good friends, Cup of Joe, and he's literally like, he's one of the few creators that I've met like in real life. He even came in to like speak to my students at one of my former schools. So we've done a lot of talking about like short form and Warzone 2 and strategy and storytelling. And we were texting back and forth, and he's like, bro, you have not really given Warzone 2 a legitimate chance. Like, you jumped ship off of it. Realistically, you went back to Caldera. You were streaming Fortnite. And that's not a waste of time. Like, you've learned stuff from it. You've learned how to tell a story in any game.
Yep.
And you've learned how to like bring people in no matter what the content is. That is valuable. Why don't you just try to give Warzone 2 a shot and bring that to Warzone 2? And that's when I really embraced the Sheikah Island. I ended up joining a gaming team, a gaming org called Ares at the time, and I started to get into a flow again. And then when I did sprinkle in Fortnite, it was still there at the same time. So there was a point where I was posting as I went on and started to hit my peak in the summer and the end of the like American school year in like June, where I was posting Fortnite and Warzone on my YouTube and TikTok, and they were both doing well. Like, I had 1 million views on a short for Fortnite and Warzone at the same time.
Yep.
That was going viral. And on TikTok, anything I posted was just 100K. It was like I had like the green thumb, so to speak, or like the golden thumb or whatever it is. I forget the Midas touch or whatever. Like, everything that I was putting out was hitting 100K on no matter what game. Then, of course, like, it always comes back down and fluctuates. But I learned from that time period of like Warzone 2 being so bad that like, if your content is good, people will watch no matter what it is. Like, and I remember being in a call with like 2 buddies in June and just talking about long form, and them just kind of like talking about how like we were all just talking about, the 3 of us, like, it doesn't really matter what's going on with the game. Like, you can make the most of it.
Yep.
And I wasn't the only creator that did. I saw several creators that were able to take advantage of the lull that Warzone 2 was and sort of like make a name for themselves. And I kind of feel like I saw Warzone 2 around like February when I realized it wasn't going to really change. I realized it was an opportunity because Warzone was one of the most, I feel like, populated games for streaming. Like, everybody was streaming Warzone 2 or Warzone at the time, that there was like so much saturation that it was almost like more difficult to blow up on it. At the same time, people were just watching, even like I could say now, like really bad content for Warzone. Like, you could just post a clip and it would get views on TikTok.
Yep. And
that changed. And I realized that was my window and opportunity. I remember sitting in a call with like two friends, Shady and Sammy at that time, and they were talking about like their plan for stuff. And I kind of realized heading into the summer that like that was going to be a big opportunity for me, because I had started to build up subscribers on Warzone 2 and nobody else was really growing. And I was like, everybody's complaining about Warzone 2. Like, I can continue to use this to like make a name for myself. In these 2 months, And I remember like Sam and I having a conversation, like we got to use these 2 months to do something great. And I put in the work on long and short form. And now I'm in a spot where like 3 or 4 months ago, I never would have believed it, where I built up almost like within the Warzone community, like almost a brand and name for myself that was not there like 3 or 4 months ago. And it's all because I saw Warzone 2 as an opportunity for Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone 3. And now looking at how that game is looking with movement coming back and like seeing some of the clips of people in Warzone 3, the movement isn't the same as Warzone, but like the game looks like it's going to be going down a path that it hasn't in a while, like a positive path where like they brought back big game bounties. They added new zip lines. The map looks good. Rebirth's coming back where it's like, I'm going to be in a position to pick up new viewership and a new audience that wasn't there before because I built up an audience around just watching whatever content I was making. So I think what a lot of creators got to realize that they haven't really unlocked yet is there's no right opportunity for like a game. Like there's not going to be this golden opportunity where like you're just going to go viral off of being lazy. You got to go make it happen. So if you didn't pick up viewership in Warzone 1 or Warzone 2, it was simply because you need to evolve your content. You need to think of something you can do consistently and constantly to build an audience and showcase you. And that could happen on any game. But when there is a surge in game, that's when it's going to be a little bit easier and you're going to be able to take advantage of that. But you still got to put in the work. So even with Warzone 3, quote unquote, and Modern Warfare 3 coming out, if you don't take advantage of that and make it your own, you're going to be waiting for the next game because you're not taking advantage of it. So I took advantage of the game at a time when a lot of creators either took a hiatus, they took a break, they were burnt out, they weren't enjoying the game. And that allowed me to like take a leap almost into like, I don't want to say mainstream, but you know what I mean? Like I almost put myself more on the map because I went full throttle when everybody else was napping and snoozing. And I took advantage of the opportunity. So yeah, it's a great question because a lot of people ask me like, how did you gain like 80K subs or whatever it is? Because that's what it was since the last time we talked. Like since Modern Warfare 2 came out, I essentially gained about 80K subs, about 100K plus on TikTok, and then about 35K on Facebook. And it's like, it's just because I took advantage of a time when, I mean, there's pretty much nobody on Facebook creating content like I am outside of like, ironically, a lot of those people that are going on Facebook, I'm also friends with, and I've been talking to them about like how to take advantage of Facebook and how to take advantage of content. They're also people who they didn't nap and snooze. You know, like they really started like another like I could shout out so many of my friends that like they didn't take a break and like they kept going, but it's like they already know who they are. They're doing their thing. So I think that's if you're a smaller creator and you're like, oh, I can't wait for my opportunity. Your opportunity is tomorrow. Go get on it. It's already here. Like, you're already missing out on it. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is like there's no time like right now to create content. So
yeah, I mean, look, from a personal point of view as well, when Warzone 2 dropped, definitely felt that not only just the lull of viewership dropping consistently, but also just my own personal enjoyment of the game as well. And as a creator who wasn't really dedicated to growth and everything like that, was more just a hobby, enjoying editing and putting things together. Going from how I felt like with Warzone 1, you could almost put out anything, like you said, maybe something that is not really a good piece of content and it would do okay. But then, like you, I went to Fortnite and tried a different game, and I went through and tried to look up what are the content like on Fortnite, and it's just like a whole new world. There's stories everywhere. You really have to be something special to pop out on a different game, and I think that's really you set the example. But I also know for myself now as well how much different, how much more work you have to do to. It's not just a clip you upload and cut in and add in effects and things like that. There's so much more that goes into it for other games. Yep, and for the next game, Warzone 3, Modern Warfare 3, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
you're in that prime position. You know you can take that into that momentum and what you've learned, ready to go. Yeah,
you're 100% right, and I even still have like a second Fortnite channel. I I only have, I think, like 8 Fortnite videos on my main channel. At one point, I actually deleted all of them because I was like, I need to go back to Fortnite. I mean, I need to go back to Warzone. I have so many people asking me to play Fortnite on my main channel, and I just don't like it as much as I do COD. Like Call of Duty, I genuinely enjoy, and so I just realized I got to find a way to enjoy Warzone too, and that's what I did. And I genuinely enjoy playing the game, and I think that's one thing is like if you don't enjoy it, you're gonna have to find another thing to play or something, or you're gonna have to be really good at hiding it. But the problem is that people can kind of pick up on that. So when I started doing well on Warzone 2 was at a point where I just figured out a way to enjoy it. I started doing crazy challenges. I started doing prox chat. Whatever you got to do, you got to leverage it.
Yeah.
And if you don't enjoy it, switch games. Like you have to. And you can't be afraid to do it because if you're not enjoying the content, you're not going to be able to be passionate and grind it out and do what you need to do. And so now I have a separate Fortnite channel and I post on there very sparingly. I think I posted 20 videos and I only have about 1,500 subs. But I remember I started going hard on that channel in like June and immediately saw success with it. Like 1 week I had 1,000 subscribers because I knew what I was doing. So for some people, maybe switching games and starting a new channel is the move for you. Like my very first long form video, I only have one long form video on my second channel. It's at like 40K views.
Yep.
Which as of right now, I just had my first video on my main channel for long form that actually passed that video. Because I've been such a short form creator that my long form hasn't been that good. But I've tried to reinvent myself and like really put out good content with that. So now I have a video that I posted about 3 weeks ago that's now at 40K views on my main channel, and it's been getting consistent push through the algorithm, and it's an educational video. So it's all about identity. It's all about what you enjoy. And for long form, I really love educational and storytelling, but you can't do that for every video necessarily when you're a gaming creator, maybe. So sometimes I just post new loadouts in the game, and I just post whatever long form video I find interesting on Warzone. If I want to do a storytelling video, I do that. And I tend to find that like storytelling for Warzone was harder for me to do, but I just had to find the right path. And so now it's like I found an identity for long form, for streams, for everything. And then when I want to post Fortnite, I post it on my main TikTok, my main Facebook, and my second YouTube. And so I'm working on my like Fortnite channel right now, and I have another video that's going to drop soon. It's my second video. And I spent probably like 2 months just sitting on the concept and the script and the thumbnail. And so like I don't have a script written out right now, but I have a plan for the video. So I'm going to record it today at some point because I finally have time to do it. And I made a thumbnail. It took me about 2 weeks to find the right person to make the thumbnail for me. Yep. Like I went through a few different thumbnail creators and I got 2 to 3 different versions of the thumbnail. And I have a really good version of the thumbnail now and a really good title. It took me like months to get it, but it's because I wasn't prioritizing it. So I'm just doing it for fun. And I finally have a really good thumbnail and title. And there you go. Like it's all about the idea and the vision for it more than it is actually like executing the video a lot of times. So if you can think of good ideas and topics that are relevant, that people will enjoy, that you also enjoy, that's where the fun is. And like YouTube and the growth is like that idea. And so I have some really good ideas and videos that are pumping. Like yesterday, some ideas just come to you in the moment. Like yesterday, I run customs with my subscribers and I multi-stream it. So it's like I have people on Twitch that are joining the customs, people on Kick, people on Facebook, people that watch the shorts, and they come and they want to play customs. And it's super fun for me every time we do it. Yesterday, we did hide and seek. It turned into like a whole short and long form video that in the moment I decided to just record. And so the gears are turning, like everybody's really invested. Like all the viewers are really invested in playing in hide and seek and watching it. People, I had somebody comment in the chat, they'd never had that much fun playing Warzone before. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, this is actually like a lot of fun. And this just came out of nowhere. So we did themed custom games. And now I had 2 videos that I got on stream yesterday, totally by coincidence. And so that's when it's really clicking, is when you're thinking about how can I make this into my next video that people will enjoy the story and the concept. And for me, I just enjoy that. So for whatever creator it is, you got to find a way to do that for sure.
Yeah, you're in that groove now. You've got that smell. You can smell something that's coming. But was it scary? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't like to mix up their channels. Like there's always at the start there was a short channel, there's a long form channel, there's a channel for this game, a channel for that game. But you've been posting, like you said, a couple of different games on one channel. Was that a concern for you at the time? Like, did you feel like you had no other choice? Couldn't be bothered really growing another channel, or you just, whatever happens?
Yeah, so I think the one thing is the reason I did split up YouTube is because I think even for larger creators, they have multiple channels sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like I've always looked up to like Courage JD a lot of how he structures his content, and like his Fortnite content, I've been like watching it on the side, and I haven't made any piece of content. I've just been like absorbing the vibe that he does in his streams and in Fortnite. And like, obviously you don't want to like copy a creator. I'm not about to say that. I'm just saying I've been taking like inspiration from his way of doing things and his mentality. But at first, yeah, I did post everything on my main YouTube and realized that was the wrong strategy. Like, I want to grow around Call of Duty and Warzone. And the reason it worked for me, I think, is because one, I was using a similar format. A lot of my videos are pretty similar. And I have a lot of people on Shorts that will watch anything that I put out. And the reason it works on TikTok and Facebook is because short form content, you can really post anything on short form content and get views, but long form, it's a little harder because click-through rate is so important to long form. Whereas like Shorts, the reason I can also get away with posting anything, like what's crazy is like about a month ago, I posted a video and the title was "How Dancing Lost Me a Game of Warzone." I'm going to be honest, if you're a new creator and you post a video like that, it's not getting views. Just to be like that title is not going to get you views. But the reason it got me views was, one, my audience was expecting it a little bit because I had been posting a similar style of like how something won or lost me a game of Warzone. Like, I've used that title so many times. Also, when people see my face on Shorts now, I have like somewhere between 1.2 million viewers on Shorts every month, like even on a down month, that are like unique viewers. Those people see my content, and I do have an advantage at this point. And that's what people have to understand is once you build an audience, like I do have an advantage over a newer creator who posts the exact same video. I mean, I have people who steal my Shorts sometimes and they get way less views than me because it's literally not their, like, it's not on my page.
Yeah.
And I also have people who steal my videos and Shorts and they also get a lot of views. Like, I had somebody get 1 million video or views on Shorts by stealing one of my videos. Wow. Because there's an advantage almost to like once you post enough, people recognize your face and they recognize your brand identity. So posting TikTok on, or not posting TikTok, sorry, posting Fortnite on my same pages was a little bit different for me because I had built up a little bit of a flow. At that point, I had like 30, 40K subs. And that's kind of the difference there. But yeah, no, I did end up splitting it only on YouTube because I think for YouTube, it's really important to have a theme and niche for that channel. Where TikTok and Facebook, like I could post a Fortnite video and it get 100K on Facebook or TikTok, and the next one's a Warzone one, and it also get 100K. Because on TikTok and Facebook, when you're hot, your other videos are going to get pushed. The same thing as YouTube, or pulled rather. You know, you're going to be getting views that kind of like transfer over. But I found that on TikTok and Facebook, the individual video is a lot more isolated in a silo than it is on YouTube. On YouTube, if you post a video and it goes viral and your other videos are similar concept, similar packaging, similar niche, it's only going to help you even more so. But on TikTok and Facebook, it's one of those things where it does not matter, I've found. Like, if you're just hot at the time or you have an individual video, like, it's still going to get pushed.
You're more likely to have a one-off, I think, on those short form platforms and YouTube is what you're saying.
No, exactly.
The one of the videos I wanted to bring up with you, because I feel like your content, like you've also said it as well, has kind of evolved, especially over the last couple of months, where finding things are tough and you're finding your feet with a different format. You've kind of gone from this is a loadout video, this is a gun you use, to more of a storytelling format, even in your long form ones, even though you say it's a bit harder. I love some of these thumbnails are getting really good. And one of your what is your most popular long form video is getting pro aim on Warzone. It's sort of it's that photo of Scump with the controller and all the settings, and I think that's a good example of hitting all the the great things that you need: a title, a really good thumbnail, and a great concept. And that's like the holy trinity of that. Video's done very well, and it's just you've kind of found things that will work now.
I mean, long form content, why a lot of people struggle with it is they don't start with the idea. That video I planned for like 2 weeks. I started by thinking, okay, I need to do a video similar to my best video, which my best video at the time was the best controller for Call of Duty Warzone players. And I did a PS5 versus Xbox breakdown. And that video also did well on shorts. So realizing my subscriber base likes that type of content. And then I added in a little bit of storytelling, but mainly made it educational. So for Call of Duty, I've actually structured my long form around 2 things: recent events and loadouts, and then storytelling and improvement. You can have like a multiple flowed identity for content, because my approach for long form is this: get people in the door and keep them with your personality or what you're bringing to that video. So first, I focus on how can I showcase myself during that video, and second, how can I bring value or information. And that's my approach with long form. It is very different than short form, and you would think that that would be a problem, but it's not, because through the storytelling that I do on shorts, I also bring the same thing. I showcase either dad jokes or like witty commentary, and a lot of people love that aspect. And so when I do a long form, and it's just on, like, for example, a new concept, like a new map coming, like Vondel, I immediately try to start the video with a joke every single time. Like, I zoom in on my face, and my editor does it, and it's some sort of joke right off the bat. And if I don't, it's because it's like some sort of like breaking news. Like, but Rebirth coming back, that video, when Rebirth was announced at COD Next, the opening line to that video is probably going to throw people off. They're like, why did you start with that line? It's like, because I just wanted to throw something at people where it's like, oh, this guy's a little bit different. He's throwing something a little different at me. So I think the line that I used was, I'm about to pee my pants. And that's how I started the video. And it's like, people are like, why would you start like that? Because it's like, I want to throw something that's going to completely throw somebody off and realize, oh, this guy's content's like a little bit different, whatever. And so that's my approach for long form, is bring personality and give people information and value in the form of loadouts, information, or improving at the game. And I do the same thing in my short form content. So it's like, there is a parallel. It's just not as obvious because the formatting of how I do it is different, because I've realized that like long form and short form content are different. The way that people consume them is different. And so, and the thumbnails is a whole another can of worms. Like, I've started to use this format of like yellow and white bubble text. And Josh is my thumbnail guy, and you might know Josh Soriano. We have gone back and forth so often on like how to get the thumbnails and the right branding, and we've finally found a formula for what works with them. Like, we're very particular with like how we structure them. Like, Josh has done a lot of creativity, and I've done a lot of reflection, and like he'll come up with an idea, we'll try something, and over time, we haven't explicitly said until actually like this week, hey, this is like the identity for thumbnails. Like, it's just kind of happened and evolved based off what works. And so now it was based off like his expertise and creativity and him just doing stuff, and me kind of like coming up with ideas and seeing what worked. And now we kind of have this idea for what works in my thumbnails. And now it's kind of consistent. Like, if you go through my recent thumbnails, like almost everything has some sort of like yellow or bubble text and an arrow.
Yep.
And some sort of like vibrant, very saturated color. And I only use my face on like certain amounts of the video if I think it works. That way, if people see my videos, they kind of know like, okay, it has like the yellow and white text, and they almost come to expect it.
Yeah, it's that consistency.
That's kind of what I'm working on.
Yeah, it's that consistency. Josh, I'm a big fan of Josh, by the way. I've been trying to get him on the podcast himself, because I'm a big fan of what he does. But so your team now, this is obviously a lot of work. You still work full time. What's your team looking like now? Because there's no way you can do all this by yourself all the time.
No, definitely not. And I think the thing is, though, and this is a good question, Minges, because I think a lot of people, when they go to start YouTube, they're like, I've got to assemble a team. I didn't start with the team. Last year, I was doing it all by myself. My biggest success periods as a creator was when I was editing everything and making my own thumbnails. And I think there's a lot of value to that because you learn what works. Like you have to be able to edit at a high level. You have to be able to storytell at a high level. You have to be able to make a thumbnail yourself and a title yourself that you know will work before you can outsource it. Because if somebody else is doing work for you and you don't know what will make it successful, they're certainly not when you give them the plan of attack. One thing that I'm very blessed with is right now, I have a team of, I really just have one editor and one thumbnail designer right now. But over the last few months, I've had multiple editors. And one thing I've realized is like, I have to be involved heavily in the planning of that. So like I will literally every Sunday or the day before school starts for me next. So like today, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down probably after this podcast, plan out every video for the week, look ahead at events that are upcoming. For example, like the Haunting event in Warzone on the 17th, the beta this weekend, and plan out pieces of content that I need to make to take advantage of that.
Yep.
And with it being open beta, more people are going to be interested in Modern Warfare 3 during the weekend. That's my plan of attack. When am I going to do customs? I'm going to plan that out. What short am I going to post on this day? I'm going to plan all that out. Then I get a little more linear and sort of like granular, and I focus on like each video and how that's going to be planned out. And then when I'm talking to Jared and Josh, they already know, an element of what makes a video successful. So that's also helpful. When you do plan out a team, you kind of have to know. And I also have, for long form, sometimes I'll work with Micah Million and Wampus, which obviously, Brandon, B. Mm-hmm. And so they'll do some of my long form, but like they're good at what they do on their level. So like you got to find people that they have an expertise and ability to like transform something when you don't tell them to. Like that's what you should look for on your team when you do assemble a team. It's like if I send something to Jared, he already knows what he needs to do to like maximize retention, maximize the visual on the screen to get people watching. I don't need to worry about that. I need to more so plan the idea, how it integrates with my brand, and like the overall format and what's going on for the week. And if you can't do that as a creator, you should not hire anybody to help you. And that's a big reason why I didn't for a while. Like I've gone on and off. There were points where I did hire people and then I went solo again because I would go solo to realize I was giving people bad thumbnails to make. So I was wasting my money and time. There was no point. So there was a point where Josh was on break for various things and we were not working on thumbnails. And I was working with one or two other people who, by the way, are very talented at what they do, but I was giving them bad ideas for thumbnail. Like we were just making stuff that was not working. My overall content strategy was lacking and my skill as a YouTuber and my knowledge was not there. So I had to just do a deep dive and try to do everything myself. And now I'm at a point where I think I'm flowing with everything, but that's because I had to take time to figure out what actually worked to myself so that I could tell other people what I wanted to do. And now that I'm there, I feel like my shorts and long form are in a good direction. And if the individual video flops, it flops. But for example, my click-through rate like 2-3 months ago on long form was like 4.5%. That is atrocious. That's atrocious for where I want it to be. Right now I'm at like a 10% average for every video. There are some videos that have a 16% click-through rate, 17. My most recent one's at like a 9.5%, which is like not exactly where I'd want it to be, but it's not that bad. And for example, the one that has 38,000 views, that one's at like a 10% overall. And every day it has somewhere between a 9 to like a 15%. So a lot of times a video is going to do well based on like the topic or the idea and how you package that versus your execution of it. But obviously your execution of it's important too. So if you're like a newer creator and your YouTube channel is getting like a 2% click-through rate, before you hire a thumbnail editor, study what makes a good thumbnail and try to improve every single thumbnail. Go back and improve your past thumbnails. And once you're in a flow, then you can have someone do that for you. Luckily with the people that I have now, like they are just experts in their field. So it helps a lot. But that's number one thing is a lot of people say, hey, go and create a team and that's how you be successful on YouTube. Not if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just wasting money. So that's the thing.
Yeah, I was going to say it's good sometimes when you get those, like you said, you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at what has worked and what hasn't worked, and you've learned from your own experiences, and you kind of know how to pass on, what instructions that you need. Because that's the other thing, you can assemble a great team, but if you can't give clear instructions as to what you need, you're not going to get the most out of your team structure.
Oh yeah, definitely not. And a lot of people don't realize truly how much that is true. And so they just think like, oh, if I just build a team, this and that, like I'll be successful. And it's like, not necessarily. There's been a point where I've had multiple people on my team. And unfortunately, as I'm growing as a YouTuber, there's going to be times where people that I'm hiring as employees or to be on my team don't have the time to commit to it, and they have to back out, or you're not working with this editor at this time. And I kind of figure out what my flow is going to be and like who's going to be a part of my team for the long term, either based on how the salaries match up or how the free time or the time zone matches up. And I'm at the point now where it's like I've had basically two main thumbnail editors, and Josh has been one of them. And it's like you kind of just figure out who's going to be a part of your team moving forward, and like who is going to want to help your vision come to life the best possible, even though they're not you.
All right, so moving into 2024, I'm sure Call of Duty is probably already out. What are the plans? Do you have any milestones in mind, and what do you foresee for the next couple of months?
With COD Next and the reveal just having happened, my main focus right now is like finishing out Warzone 2 strong, taking advantage of Modern Warfare 3 content, but mainly realizing that my core audience likes Battle Royale and Warzone. So I'm going to keep making videos on my Fortnite second channel, mainly with the focus of just improving my storytelling ability, growing my community. Like my Discord has multiplied over the last few months with doing things like customs and making consistent content. Streams have just done better and better. Like yesterday, I peaked at like 160 viewers, which is something that I never would have thought I would ever be saying. Like an average of 85 viewers. It's like, that's insanity to me. So it's just to continue to be consistent, build out the streams, and literally just be there. Like show up every day to take advantage of the opportunities. And then when Warzone 3 comes out, hit the ground running with educational videos, educational stories and shorts and ways to improve, movement guides, settings, loadouts, all of that. And then just to continue building my brand. And it's honestly quite simple to plan. Like that's really all it is.
No, that's good, man. And look, I have no doubt in my mind that you will reach whatever milestone, whatever goal you have in mind for the next couple of months, because you have that dedication, you have that drive, and you know how to get there now. So I wish you all the best in 2024, man. It was great to have you on for podcast number 2.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
If you've made it this far into the podcast and you want to see more, please consider joining the Patreon page. There will be exclusive bonus content on the page, and also give you the opportunity to ask more questions to our upcoming guests on Unfiltered Conversations with Creators.